Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Violence and confusion mar Council of State elections in Ashanti and Greater Accra regions. We're live with our reporters for the latest from the ground. We'll bring you the latest from there. Also, Ghana's anti-corruption efforts suffer yet another setback as the latest report by Transparency International ranks Ghana 80th out of 180 countries assessed worldwide. And much later on the program, government says it has put in place alternative arrangement to ensure the health system does not grind to a halt as USAID shuts down operations across the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start from here. And disturbing scenes at the regional coordinating councils in Kumasi and the Greater Accra region as violence broke out during the ongoing election for a Council of State representatives for the regions or Council of State representatives. The stakes have been high in the race for Ashanti regional and Greater Accra regional representatives to the Council of State, and we'll be going to the Ashanti region very shortly, where Ibrahim Abubakar is standing by, but Stanley Nibleo is in the Greater Accra region. He joins us live on the line. Stanley, tell us where you are, where you've been, and what's happening.
So currently I'm at the Accra Metropolitan Building, the AMA Assembly, and then currently this is the venue where the election of the Greater Accra Regional Council of State is taking place. It is happening in one of the halls within the Accra Metropolitan Assembly building. And so just a couple of minutes ago, the election started. But then the Electoral Commission officials got to these premises at 7, and they were able, at 7 a.m., they were able to set up everything, awaiting the delegates to come and then partake in the process so that they can commence and finish on time. But they did not arrive on time. This created room for some of the aspirants to be accusing some of their colleagues for camping them and trying to induce them so that they will swing the votes for themselves. But as I speak, about 20 minutes ago, two separate chaos ensued within the auditorium. One happened when between the police and some delegates who were prevented from entering the auditorium. The Greater Accra Regional Minister, Linda Oklu, who also stepped out of the auditorium, was subsequently or eventually prevented from coming back into the auditorium by the police. I don't know what informed their decision though, but this brought like an intense chaos within the people, the security architecture of the place, and then some of the delegates who are also trying to force their way into the auditorium. But eventually, they were able to restore calm to the place, and as I speak, less than 10 minutes ago, the process has started, and everybody is going through the process. Here in the Greater Accra region, 58 delegates, they are constituting the Electoral College here in the Greater Accra, 2 representatives from each district. And so we are having 29 districts in the Greater Accra region, and 58 of these people are partaking in the process currently to elect one person. As I speak, 13 people have been availed themselves to be voted for so that they can represent the region at the Council of State. But just before the election started, 2 of the people or the aspirants withdrew from the race, showing their support for other people who think they are more qualified to, get the nod so that they can represent the region at the Council of State level.
Tell us more, Stanley, whether there were any injuries or destruction to properties.
No, there weren't any injuries. There weren't any destruction to any property. But currently, as I speak, I can see a lot of people who are not part of the assembly, but they are here to just observe the process. They have trooped into the building, but the police, the security have been beefed up, and so the police is preventing them. And as I speak to you, they are really insults upon insults. I mean, when it comes to the gun violence, they are using unprintable words as the police officers because simply they are restricting them access to the main auditorium.
Thank you very much. But before you go, has there been any arrest by the police who are present there?
Not at all. Not at all.
Thank you very much, Stanley Nibleo. Keep an eye on what's going on, and certainly we'll get back to you as and when you have the latest. And like I told you, we'll be going to the Ashanti region very shortly, where we also do understand that macho men, as it were, have disrupted the counting process, snatched ballot boxes, among others, in that part of the country. We'll be bringing you the latest from there. Ibrahim Abubakar is standing by for us. He'll be joining us very shortly with the latest from there. But let me bring you some updates. We do know that some 155 candidates comprising 145 males and 10 females have put themselves up for the election to the advisory body. If you're watching us on Facebook, we're bringing you the graphics of these numbers as I'm reading them to you. Well, the Council of State, as you may know, is an advisory body established under Articles 89 to 92 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana to counsel the President in the performance of his duties. Its members include a former Chief Justice, a former Chief of the Defense Staff, also a former Inspector General of Police, each appointed by the President in consultation with Parliament. It also includes the President of the National House of Chiefs, one elected representative from each region, the election of which is currently going on, which has been marred by violence in Accra and the Ashanti regions, and also 11 other members appointed by the President. Remember that the Council of State does not just counsel the President, but also is important or relevant in other institutions, public institutions of the nation as well. Let's go to the Volta region now. Faisal Abdul Idriso is also monitoring events for us because we understand that actually someone has been elected in that part of the country. Faisal, what more can you tell us?
Yes, so thank you, Afful. A known businessman in the region, 36 years old, has been elected as the Volta region representative for the Council of State. 36 persons made up the electoral college that voted at the Ola auditorium earlier this morning. He polled 24 votes out of the 35, one rejected ballot to be declared as the winner to represent the Volta region. There were 13 candidates. Apart from him polling 24, Dr. David Waku polled 4 votes. Tobe Akamu also polled 5 votes. And one other, Mr. Lake, polled 1 vote out of the 35. And so the total valid vote was 35, he polled 24 to be declared as the winner. He told us earlier today that he will use his position to lobby for the development of the region, work with all stakeholders, including the chiefs and assembly members, to ensure that the Volta region gets its own fair share of the national cake. Even though the role he's supposed to play is an advisory role, his membership on the council is to bring development for the Volta region.
And Faisal, I know you've been speaking to the winner of this election in the Volta region. I want you to hold on. We'll hear him, and then we'll come to the person who lost.
I would want to say a very big thank you to the very electoral college that got me elected. I might say that I draw my inspiration from Psalm 91 and Habakkuk 2 verse 3. I'm really humbled. It is God from the beginning and it is God now. Article 89 has been clearly stated about the Council of State, that members of the Council of State are going to provide advisory services to the President. And I'm representing the Volta region in that regard. I would want to say that yes, of course. I've always said that Volta possesses 60% of Ghana's resources. And I'm going to use that leverage to partner with donor partners across the globe and see how best we can make the region more autonomous. I have always said that it's not about being young, okay? The youth, of course, should be involved in government policies. And I would want to say that I'm going to make a difference. Of course, my voice will be added. At the end of the day, victory will be for the region.
And Faisal is still on the line with us. Faisal, David Woko, the man who lost the election, we understand also spoke. Can you tell us briefly what he said before we hear from him directly?
Yes, so Dr. Wako accused the NDP in the region and the regional minister of unduly interfering in the process. What he mentioned is that last night they made several attempts to get to the delegates, but it appeared the regional minister and some top executives of the NDP camped them. He is of the view that though the outcome of the election is not in his favor, the person who won the election was simply the choice for the NDP, and they made sure that they interfered with the entire process to get him elected. Let's listen to what he told you about it.
People call themselves party executive, meeting delegates in the night. I went there behind closed door. Some boys called themselves party organizers, preventing a candidate to have access to the information you are giving to delegates. What is that? When the police command called the minister, he said a different thing. When I met him, he said a different thing. Why should we call this an election? This is not an election. They clearly told me personally they have an interest. What interest do they have? That it's not an interest of voter region. Voter region chiefs, voter region interest holders, all the assemblies, I am calling on you to hold your representatives responsible for this kind of decision, to send our region back. I will work hard to do.
And you heard Dr. David Woko. He's the man who lost that election to be elected as a member of the Council of State representative from the Volta region. In the northern region, former MP for Kumungu, Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, who was also a former Foreign Affairs and Interior Minister, has been elected as Council of State member for the area. Christopher Mwako covered this election. He joins us live with the very latest from the northern region. Chris, what can you tell us?
Yes, so Beatrice, like you rightly mentioned, Alhaji Mumuni won the elections with some 26 votes out of 32 votes that were cast. The northern region has 16 districts, and 32 delegates came to vote in this election. And Alhaji Mumuni, a former MP for Kumbungu, won the elections overwhelmingly. And after winning the elections, he called for support from the people of the northern region so that he will be able to advise the president accordingly for the development of the northern region.
What has been the general reaction to his election?
Yes, so with the figures that came out of the elections, it means that Alhaji Mumuni received an overwhelming endorsement, and that is the choice of the people. And so everybody is happy that having been a former MP, a former running mate to late former President John Evans Atta Mills, he has the expertise and to be able to advise the president accordingly so that the northern region will get a share of the development.
Thank you so much, Christopher Marco. He's our northern region correspondent. Some 14 minutes past the hour of 12. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us.
Hey, ready to make your drive home epic? It's the 3FM Drive with the one and only Giovanni Killen right here on 3FM 92.7. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're transforming your commute into a top-tier experience. Need a pick-me-up? Our music belt is pure energy, pure vibes. Stay ahead with the Drive Sports, bringing you the latest scores and highlights. Curious about the stars? We've got all the hottest trends, celebrity profile interviews, plus DJ faculty has got you.
Ready? Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays on 3FM Drive. You know where it's at.
This is where the action is at, live on the 3FM Drive on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to the 3FM Drive. That's right!
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7, 15 minutes past the hour of 12. We return to that story about the violence marring the Council of State elections. We go to the Ashanti region now, where I told you earlier that macho men prevented the elections, or marred the activities, marred the elections in that part of the country, with some snatching ballot boxes, among others. Ibrahim Abubakar is our man who's been following this. He joins us live on the line. Ibrahim, just bring us the latest.
Well, Beatrice, as I speak to you, the election process has come to a halt. The EC officials have left. Some of the police personnel are also leaving. The macho men, as I speak to you, have also left. Then all the 12 candidates have left with their supporters. But we still have people here within the Regional Coordinating Council. Now they will have to go back, find a new date, and conduct the elections again. Even though they were done, they couldn't finalize with the counting process. In fact, all the 86 came, voted. They had done the sorting just when they were about to begin counting. Then this whole disturbance started. In fact, it was clear because the numbers were not huge, 86, you could clearly see who is leading based on the sorting. So I'm sure the other persons realized that they were not in comfortable lead, and the guys had to come there, destroy everything. In fact, initially when they started with the disturbances, the EC officials managed to pick the ballot papers and put it in the ballot box and ran towards the conference center of the Regional Coordinating Council. But the macho men came after them, took the ballot paper from them, opened it, took the ballot papers, and destroyed everything. So as we speak, all the ballots are scattered here, and the EC is unable to go ahead with the counting process. So they will have to find a date as to whether it will be done outdoor or even closed door next time. In fact, the election even turned political, even though we know this should be a neutral election. But we had supporters of the National Democratic Congress and also supporters of the New Patriotic Party storming their rooting for their candidate. Even though 12 were contesting, 2 people were standing out. They were competing among themselves. The Chief of Agri Kenzima, who is one of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Nkansa Boadu, and the former Ashanti Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Yao Obimpe. So these two their supporters came there in their numbers, and the atmosphere there was very, very tense. But as I speak, whilst other regions have voted and successfully elected their Council of State member representative, Ashanti region will have to wait for another day.
Ibrahim, and before I even ask you the question, let me tell you that if you're watching us or following us on Facebook, or you can actually go to Facebook right now, where we're showing you visuals of what Ibrahim Abubakar is talking about. Dozens of police officers and visibly seen ballot papers spread on the floor around the place where the elections or the election was taking place. Ibrahim, I heard you mention that it looks like supporters of a particular candidate felt they were not in the lead and therefore decided to take things into their own hands. But are you able to tell us at what point things degenerated into the violence that we have seen?
So just when the EC was about to begin counting, like I said, the sorting had been done, and supporters of the Chief of Agri Kenzima, Nana Nkansa Boadu, had even started jubilating because they saw their ballots and they saw the numbers, because these are just 86 people voting. So clearly you can see after the sorting who is winning. So they started with their jubilation, and just when the EC was about to begin the official counting process, then these macho men stormed. In fact, they were around. When we got there in the morning, we saw them around, but they didn't go close to the voting area. But few minutes to the end of polls, because they voted as at 10, they had all voted, left with just one person to come and vote. He came around 11:30 thereabouts. So just when he came there and cast his ballot, then we saw the macho men coming to the voting area. In fact, from the entrance where the police had barricaded to the voting area is quite a distance. They wouldn't allow you to go with your car, so you have to walk, which will take you, I would say, about 100 or 150 steps before you get to the voting area. So initially when we came, we thought they wouldn't allow them entry into the voting arena, but we don't know what happened. And just when they were about to begin the counting, these guys came around, destroyed everything. In fact, they didn't just destroy the ballot papers. They attacked the media there. Whoever is seen videoing, they come to you, attack you. Even some of the police officers, the guys attack them. And as I speak, no one has been arrested. Maybe later the police will re-strategize and be able to identify some of these guys and effect their arrest.
Quite disturbing there, but before you go, aside from the ballot papers and boxes, any other destruction to property and any of those who are attacked, injuries?
Well, I've seen 2 journalists who have been injured. In fact, one was standing right behind me when he received some slaps because he was using his phone to take some videos, and they kicked him left, right, center. So he has been sent to the hospital. I know another one to also sustain minor injury, but some of the macho men, I also saw some also sustaining injuries. But the other things they destroyed were the tables and chairs that were, because it was done in the open. So it was the tables and chairs there, and also the PA system of the Information Service Department, the Regional Information Service Department that they were using for the event.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim Abubakar, bringing us the latest unfortunate incident there happening in the Ashanti region in that Council of State elections currently ongoing across the country. 12:22 here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Now, Ghana's anti-corruption efforts have suffered a setback, with the country's score on the 2024 Corruption Perception Index dropping for the first time in 5 years. According to the report released by Transparency International, Ghana scored 42 out of a possible 100, ranking 80th out of 180 countries assessed worldwide. This performance places Ghana 11th among 49 sub-Saharan African countries, alongside Albania. Ghana lags behind regional leaders such as Seychelles 72, Cape Verde 62, Botswana 57, Rwanda 57, and Mauritius 51, all of whom scored above 50. However, Ghana performed better than Burkina Faso 41, South Africa 41, and Tanzania 41. We'll bring you more on this later. Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ACG, declared revenue to players in Ghana's energy sector by a whopping 5.3 billion cedis in 2024. Latest audit report by PricewaterhouseCoopers has revealed worrying financial details and a failure by the country's energy distributor to adequately pay sector players in helping to keep the lights on. The latest report also reveals that as much as 402 million cedis was paid to a vendor which collected revenue on behalf of ECG to deposit in ECG's 99 bank account. Let me run you through some of the details in terms of ECG price, the cash waterfall mechanism 2024 audit. In terms of revenue, it says that revenue was underdeclared. Total under declaration between the cash waterfall mechanism and the ECG cash settlement platform report is 5.33 billion Ghana cedis. Also, in terms of settlements, ECG cash settlement reform platform under reported was 15.77 billion. Also, under the cash waterfall mechanism payments, ECG consistently failed to remit the allocated monthly amount stipulated in that mechanism over the tax 2 period. The total allocation per the CWM to the beneficiaries is 10.44 billion, whilst the amount paid is 6.54 billion. In terms of bank accounts, ECG operates 99 bank accounts with 19 banks. January 2024 to September 2024, ECG used 14 accounts for collections. October and December 2024, ECG used about 9 accounts for collections and 78% of revenue. went through one account. In terms of vendor commissions, there were 402.59 million cedis paid as commissions to vendor who provides the payment platform used for collecting all revenues on its behalf and making settlements to designated bank accounts of ECG. In some other news, President John Mahama in January this year was petitioned to remove the Electoral Commission chairperson Jean Mensah, her 2 deputies and an executive member. The petitioner cited grounds including a breach of fundamental human rights under Article 42 of the 1992 Constitution and incompetence, bias and actions and inactions that undermine public confidence in the impartiality and integrity of the Commission. But speaking to TV3 in an exclusive interview, the Minister of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, said that there is not enough evidence to warrant the removal of the ECG boss.
These things are dictated by law. It is not whimsical. You can't decide that you don't like Jean Mensah, so she should be removed. I would not endorse that. If we have grievances about her performance, we will say so. Just as I have grievances about the performance of the judiciary, and I've said so frontally. It is not going to form the base upon which I see anybody should be removed. To be removed, you have to go through certain processes. You have to do something that merits removal. That must be proven through a fair and transparent process. So if that threshold is met, why not? But I'm not going to say that because Jean Mensah has been roundly criticized by the NDC for incompetence and, if you like, unfairness and bias, she should be removed. We cannot run a country that way.
And you had Felix Kwakye-Ofosu speaking about the removal of EC boss Jean Mensah. Well, he also claimed that the judiciary has been consistently unfair to the National Democratic Congress over the past 32 years. He said that the pattern of court rulings against the party dating back to the era of former President Jerry John Rawlings suggests an inherent bias against the NDC.
We in the NDC believe that at least for the last 3 decades, because of some historical happenings, we have not been treated fairly by the judiciary. There's a matter that we have raised. We've pointed it out on many occasions. If you look at all the facts available, the way that the MPP has been treated, the way that the NDC has been treated, you can come to a fair conclusion that there's no semblance of fairness.
That was Felix Kwakye-Ofosu. He is the Minister of Government Communications, speaking earlier in that exclusive interview with TV3 this morning. Meanwhile, immediate past member of the Council of State and senior lawyer Sam Okujeto has also defended the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare. He says the IGP has done nothing wrong for him to be removed. He spoke in an exclusive interview with me earlier on the back of calls to remove the IGP from office.
I don't even understand why they're drafting it. Because if there has been any, I have watched this country since independence. If there has been any person who is level-headed and strict to do the right thing, it is the current IGP, Dr. Dampare. I think that people just think that when there's a change of government, there must also be a change of everything. We cannot have continuity in a country like that. It makes no sense.
We'll bring you more of that interview later. And that's it for the news here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily, and Bismarck Awusa is standing by with the latest.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up, energy experts urges government to increase its stake in oil fields to boost earnings as recent report reveals domestic petroleum revenue declined sharply by over 62% in second half of 2024.
Currently, we are doing around 20% of interest. We think that we can do more. Increasing our interest in some of these fields will also ensure that we get a lot of revenue from them.
Also, National Insurance Commission, NIC, urges professionals to acquire professional indemnity insurance. We will bring you details.
This is mandatory that all professionals or consulting firms or consultants or firms or individuals who know themselves as professionals are supposed to have professional indemnity insurance.
Plus, government seeks to raise 8.06 billion cedis in upcoming treasury bills auction. These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the detail. Ghana's petroleum revenue declined sharply by 62.63% in the second half of 2024, falling to $517 million from $840.77 million, according to the latest petroleum funds report by the Bank of Ghana. Despite the drop, total annual revenue hit a record $1.3 trillion, the highest since oil production began in 2021. The following three business news desk report has more. Ghana's petroleum revenue saw a sharp decline in the second half of 2024, dropping by over 62% to $517 million, according to the Bank of Ghana's latest petroleum funds report. Despite this, total annual revenue reached a record $1.3 trillion, with key earnings coming from crude oil liftings, corporate taxes, and surface rental fees. The report highlights $369 million from 5 crude oil liftings and $144 million in corporate taxes. Meanwhile, $454 million was allocated to the Ghana Petroleum Funds, with $136 million going into the Ghana Heritage Fund and $318 million into the Stabilization Fund. However, oil production continued its downward trend, prompting the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, to call for increased investment in exploration data and regulatory reforms to attract fresh capital into the sector. PIAC warns that without such measures, Ghana's long-term energy revenues could be at risk. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana's petroleum revenue declining sharply by over 62%. Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSI, Benjamin Nsia, says Ghana must secure greater stakes in oil exploration fields operated by multinational firms to reverse the sharp decline in domestic petroleum revenue. His call follows a Bank of Ghana report revealing a 62% drop in petroleum revenue, which SEMSI attributes to Ghana's limited equity participation in upstream projects. Benjamin Nsia argues that increasing the country's interest in these fields will boost revenue retention and strengthen the local economy.
Government must begin to negotiate with some of our partners to ensure that our equity or our interest in some of these fields also increases. Currently, we are doing around 20% of interest. We think that we can do more. Increasing our interest in some of these fields will also ensure that we get a lot of revenue from them. We shouldn't only be thinking of getting revenue from taxation or royalties, but equity in each of these entities will also ensure that we get a lot of revenue. These are things we think that government should be able to do in the coming years to ensure that we get or maximize revenue from the upstream. If we continue to rely on the status quo, revenue from the upstream may decline further, especially at the time that the Americans and other countries are injecting in more crude oil. The more they inject in this crude oil, it pushes prices down. And when prices go down, it means that revenue from the upstream also decline. And that will be a concern for Ghana very much in a case where we depend on this upstream to structure our budget.
Benjamin Nsia is Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSI. Moving on, the National Insurance Commission, NIC, is advising individuals and entities that provide services to the public to obtain professional indemnity insurance. This type of insurance protects professionals and businesses from claims of negligence, errors, or omissions in their services. According to insurance expert and senior manager at the Supervision Department of NIC, Charles Denchi Anson, having professional indemnity insurance can boost credibility and reputation while providing financial protection against claims. This helps prevent financial ruin and ensures business continuity. The NIC's call aims to protect or promote risk management and financial security among professionals and businesses, ultimately protecting their livelihoods and reputations.
In the event of they rendering a service to their clients and the client suffer some financial loss, the client can bring an action against such professional misconduct. So when you look at the Insurance Act, it makes it mandatory that all professionals or consulting firms or consultants or firms or individuals who hold themselves as professionals are supposed to have professional indemnity insurance to cover any error or omission, any form of misrepresentation that it may cause a loss to an individual or a person or their employment. And the professional indemnity insurance is there to cover such negligence,
And that was insurance expert and senior manager at the Supervision Department of the NIC, Charles Denchi Anson, urging professionals to acquire professional indemnity insurance. Before we go, government is set to hold a Treasury bills auction on February 14, 2025, with the aim of raising 8.06 billion cedis to settle maturing bills worth 7.5 billion cedis. This move is part of efforts to fund government operations and finance budget deficits. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
The revenue generated from the auction will also help the government meet its short-term liquidity need, providing quick access to funds for unexpected expenses. In the previous auction held on February 7, 2025, bids tendered by primary dealers totaled 10.5 billion cedis, with the Treasury accepting 7.65 billion cedis and rejecting 2.9 billion cedis. Notably, the accepted bids were 392 million cedis higher than the targeted 7.25 billion cedis. However, the total bids accepted were lower than the anticipated 8.36 billion cedis maturities to be settled by the government. The yield on the 91-day T-bills declined by 43 basis points and 182-day by 21 basis points as the Treasury sought to reduce high interest rates on short-term debt instruments. The 91-day T-bills ended auction at 28.1%, while the 182-day T-bills ended at 28.87%. The upcoming auction is expected to attract significant interest from investors, given the government's efforts to manage its debt portfolio and finance its operations.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on government targeting in excess of 8 billion cedis in upcoming Treasury bill auction. And that will be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Awusa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.